This is Kristine Reynolds, and I'm back with another stamping tutorial using gelatos. Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft was really generous and gave the entire Cornish Heritage Farms design team some of their fabulous products, and we have been having a blast creating with them. I'm going to show you how I created this tag that I posted on my blog today. The supplies that I will use are a vanilla colored tag, chocolate, metallic gold, and butterscotch gelatos, Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft PITT Artist Pens, Walnut, Green Gold, Cold Gray, and Warm Gray, and Faber-Castell Watercolor Pencils number 183 and 176. You'll also want to have a small mister with water in it, or a cup of water that you can put your fingers into. And you'll need a stamp set. I'm going to be using Cornish Heritage Farms, A Time to Stamp. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I will be working on my craft mat here. I apologize for the glare. That's the one thing I don't like about the craft mat, is it has a lot of glare on it. I'm going to start with my gelatos, and just in case you haven't seen these yet, I'm just going to quickly show you. They look like a little chapstick container, and they twist up and twist down just like that. And the gelato is actually kind of a waxy, almost feels like a crayon. And when you add water, it becomes soluble and will blend and move across the paper, which is one of the cool things that it does. So I'm going to start by just coloring the chocolate gelato on about 1/3 of my tag. And then I'm going to come in with the gold metallic gelato. And finally, the butterscotch. Then you can use a cup of water, or I just like to take my mini mister and spray the water directly on my craft mat. You can blend the gelato on your cardstock by just using your finger and smear it around and get good coverage, but I like to use a little water just to make it a little damp, and what that does, as you can see, is it enables you to move it around a little more, and you don't really lose the color. You could spray the paper and then spread it around, but the paper would become pretty damp, and I don't want to have to wait forever for it to dry. The other problem with spraying it with water is that it will become too diluted, and the gelatos will not retain their color as well. They'll become a lot lighter. You can always add more on there, but I wanted most of the color to really stay on here, so that's why I wanted to just dip my finger in it. And I'm using the same finger for all of them because I do want the colors to blend. I'm okay if a little bit of metallic gold gets in the butterscotch or in the chocolate. It's all fine with me. Oops. Alright. So when it's blended the way you like it, it'll have this look. It's a little bit damp, so you'll want to set it aside to dry for a few minutes. And I just use a paper towel to quickly clean up my area. I have a tag that I've already let dry so that you didn't have to wait for the drying process. The next step on my tag is going to be to add the stamping. And I'm going to use my PITT Artist Pens for that. I'm going to start with the green gold. And you can see it's got this really nice brush tip on it, and you can just quickly brush it onto your stamp. And then stamp it on your tag. And I'm going to be stamping this one multiple times, and I'm hoping that when I go to load the video, which I'm still pretty new with videos, I'm hoping that I will be able to speed it up so that you won't have to sit here and bored and watch this. If I can't speed it up, I'm going to suggest you just fast forward it until you see me pick up my next pen. But I'm going to finish stamping this tag now. When it's all done, you can just use a wet wipe to clean up your stamp. And I'll just use a paper towel to dry the area. The next step in making my tag is the little pocket watch. And to stamp that onto my tag, I'm going to use the Walnut Brown. Sorry. I'm going to use my clock stamp, and I will be using the WarmGrey PITT pen for that. When you're doing stamping like this, if you haven't done it before, you'll want to know that it's good to stamp off the edges a little bit. It just has a better look. I'm sure there's some artist's reason for that. I don't know the reason. I just know that it looks better. Also, you'll notice that as I'm stamping, I stamped 3 of everything. You can do 3, you can do 5, but don't do 2 or 4. The odd stamping just looks better on there. If you get it even, it just won't look right. Something will look off about it. Alright, so just to show you where we're at so far, that is all 3 of those stamps stamped on there. Dry my area. Okay, and then I'm going to take my cool gray pen, and I'm going to go around the edges of the tag. Just like that. And then I'm going to go a little bit on the front of the edges. And one of the cool things about these markers is that they stay a little bit wet after you put them in, so you can use them to kind of distress the edges of your tag. And you can add just a little, or you can add a thick amount. You can skip it if you want. There you go. And that is basically the bulk of the finished tag. All I did after this point was I added a strip of ribbon across the bottom, and I just took a piece of scrap paper that I had laying on my table, and I added some gelatos to that and kind of repeated the first process that we did. And then I stamped the sentiment on there and cut it out and added it here. The little brad that I used is from eyeletOutlet.com, and it goes so perfectly. I just love it. And then on the top, I just took some netting, some tulle, and took it through the little circle there and tied a ribbon on it. And that is my completed tag.